We are here. It is race time for Division 2 of New Horizons Racing League, round 3 of our custom calendar for these guys in China. We've just had qualifying and H. Collins has got pole position for Mercedes, bagging him 2 championship points. Will he be able to hold on for the win and get the bonus point for fastest lap? We'll have to see to find out. And with the threat of rain on the horizon, little pun, this race could be anyone's guess so far, because everyone's showing reasonable pace and consistency and different tyre strategies being played amongst all the drivers. Let's have a rundown of the grid again. It is Collins in the Mercedes in P1, voted Basher P2 for Sauber, our championship leader also. Broke Gorilla in his New Horizons Division 2 debut in the Toro Rosso. Slav King Robo, our championship contender in P4 for Renault. He'll be hoping for a lot better today. Black Prodigy, being overtaken by Bradley on the formation lap, is Slav King's teammate. And Bradley in P6, he should really hand that position back to the Renault. For Ferrari, and Deranged is probably just going to be hoping to get to the end for today in P7 for Force India. So from what I've gathered, this should be, if Broke Gorilla can get a podium today, it'll be his first podium in the league, with being the ex-Division 1 driver. I believe his best finish was either 4th or 5th in Division 1 around Japan. That was about 3 weeks ago. Division 1 went around USA last week, and we are preparing for Mexico tomorrow. So tune into New Horizons Racing League on YouTube and keep an eye out on our Twitter page at NHRL Official, and also find us on Facebook for New Horizons Racing League to witness all of our stewards' inquiries being investigated. So the guys desperately trying to warm up their tyres. I'm still wondering how many laps people have done on all of their tyres to... oh god, that was a big mistake from Broke Gorilla. Hopefully that signage board wasn't very important. But let's try have a look at the tyre compounds. Yep, the top 3 starting in ultras off with 4th and 5th Renault guys having the tyres that match their cars, and Bradley and Deranged hoping to jump the 2 Renaults off the line. So right on board with Collins, and we are waiting for Deranged car now to form up the grid. We're all lined up, lights will be on now. 3, 4, 5 red lights. Lights out and away we go in China, and everyone gets away reasonably well. There's a big jump from Deranged at the back of the grid, or getting a bit elbows out with Prodigy at the back there. Cons leads as well into turn 2, just trying to keep an eye. Oh, the Renault pair getting very close, and Deranged being run very wide off. I wonder if that'll be an investigation for being forced off the track. But still, Slav has been overtaken by his Renault teammate of Prodigy. It's coming up to the turn 4 hairpin. Collins very comfortable in the lead so far, but will he be... oh, there's a huge diving Ferrari. That is definitely going to be investigated by Bradley. Unfortunately, he was actually the biggest loser out of all of that. Right on board with the robot though. Black Prodigy being chased down by his teammate of Slav King Robo. Broke Gorilla running very wide, being overtaken by the championship leader. Let's run board with these guys, see if there's any fight back. Not quite into that corner. You just need to be very patient. Steady. Oh, they both run wide on the exit curb. That's actually going to put both Renaults within a shout of catching up to them very closely. You see, there's someone not happy with that Toro Rosso. Collins still with the comfortable lead of over 1 second within the first lap. Are the Renaults going to have a go on the Toro Rosso? Oh, would it? Oh, it was very aggressive, but fair from Black Prodigy. Broke Gorilla is going to be desperate to get that position back. Con setting the initial fastest lap over 138.9. Is there a yellow flag in the background? One of these guys? I'm surprised that Bradley... I hope that the damage is actually on that Ferrari, because it would be very unfair if it's caused any damage to the other cars on the circuit. I'm just hoping to try and get a better camera angle of the Renault. I don't believe the Renault has any damage, but that incident is under investigation as we speak. See if Votabasha can chase down his championship rival of Collins. Collins unfortunately not actually having the best starts to the Division 2 season so far, being crashed out in both races, but he's got it in him. I know he's got it in him to actually be up here with the front of the guys. It's just the small mistakes, unfortunately for him, end up having very big consequences. But as long as he's consistent, he's just had a bit of a slide coming out of turn 14. Is that going to put the charge on for the Sauber? Yeah, the best thing for Collins to keep doing every week is to come back, head down, and just charge and do your best. And consistency will reward you later on in the season. Was there a bit of a tangle between Broke Gorilla and Slav? I'd be very surprised if any of them don't have any damage. Votabash is setting the new fastest lap now. Oh, these two are going to be scrapping for days. But it is for the podium position. Robot Boy actually getting his debut win last week as they get very close through turn 2. But he still manages to pull it off. I wonder if there's actually any damage on the Toro Rosso there. But yeah, with Robot Boy winning Baku last week, he is also a championship contender, but still everyone, with it being very early days and these bonus points up for grabs, it's anyone's guess for definitely top 3, but we're going to have to wait for a bit to see a clear championship leader. Toro Rosso, that might be, is that, I might have the gap to leader, sorry, right. Broke Gorilla is about 6 tenths behind the final podium slot. And as long as these guys race well and have fun, then they should not have any complaints. Just trying to see. I wonder if I can. From what I remember, the Ultra Softs will not last more than 10 laps. And I believe the softs will go around 15 laps and the mediums will do well over 20. But with the rain on the horizon, I don't know when people are going to be pitting. They might be ended up making their strategies on the fly, and Collins actually pitting to go on the medium tyres. I wonder if he's actually had enough of his ultras. They've either burnt out very quickly, or yeah, people are making the pit stops. The ultras are dying very quickly. I guess if they know the rain's on the way, then they would be obviously pitting for the longest stint tyre, and then they're either going to have to pit for softer tyres later on towards the end of the race, or with the threat of inters. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. It's a very busy pit lane actually. I believe everyone's actually made a pit stop very early on from what I've experienced before. Nope, the two Renaults actually not making the pit stop just yet. Let's run on board with Votive, who's actually under threat from Collins at the moment. Collins taking the perfect line through the second sector. All he has to do is hook that curve very nicely, and he does so. Votive actually running a bit wide. Collins looks a bit more comfortable, and are they on different compounds? Yes, they are. This will be pretty entertaining to see if the Mercedes on the harder compound actually gets in front of the soft compounds on the Sauber. Yeah, I think he's struggling for grip out there. It's either grip or traction. I think everyone's differential settings will end up deciding the race. I'm not expecting many DNFs today. It will either be people messing up through the first sector, mainly through turns 1, 2 and 3, or through the high speed corners in the second sector. But with plenty of runoff, I don't see why any more damage should be more than the broken front wing. But Collins still charging down. The best thing for Collins to do at the minute is to actually just stay with him. We will expect the initial gap to increase, but he's doing very well to stay where he is. It would be brilliant if he could stay within a second, then he would always get DRS range on the Sauber. But everyone, the runners actually looking very comfortable on the soft tyres still. Makes me think if they could actually go halfway through the race distance. This may have actually compromised their own strategy. But everyone looking pretty tidy so far within the first 5 laps. Obviously we do have incidents under investigation, mainly from the Ferrari of Bradley. I'm pretty sure he didn't mean to do that, but we will look into it. And you're not going to get better unless you make mistakes. Unfortunately, it's actually in motor racing, it's at the expense of other people. So the best thing for him to do is to pick himself up, learn, and just carry on. Fingers crossed he has a better racing future ahead of him. Yeah, the gap with the Sauber actually increasing to 2 seconds now over Collins. These two are still actually very evenly matched. I'm surprised that Collins hasn't actually finished. I don't think he's actually finished higher than 6th so far this season. I might be mistaken, so don't quote me on that. I'm sorry, I'm always busy during the weeks. But he's managed to gain on him slightly through turn 1, but not so much through the exits. Just realised how low the ride height that Mercedes is running. It's clipping a bit of a corner. It's not the best thing you want to be doing on exit. So yeah, I like this. I like it when drivers actually track extend reasonably, because if you track explore thoroughly, you can gain so much time. And it's going to be the best thing for Collins to do at the moment. I'm sure he knows more than anyone at the minute that his tyres will be going a lot longer. In my opinion, I still think that Collins is actually on the best strategy so far. Taking a bit of curb on the exit. I think Collins is actually set into a endurance kind of mode now. I think he's just settling in for the race ahead. But still, I still can't believe how far the grid's actually separated between each other. I want to ride on board with Slav King, because I think if there's anyone who can pull a win out the bag with a compromised strategy, it would actually be him. But his teammate actually doing very well to stay that far ahead of him. Yeah, and he's actually still gaining away from him. I still wonder if any of these guys have actually got wing damage. Does he... I would have placed my car a bit further over than that in my opinion there, mate. Going up to the double left-hander. And very tidy. I'm clipping the grass a bit on the exit, but it's still not too bad. Let's ride on board with Prodigy. He's actually doing very well so far. I would have not picked him to be leading the race at this point. He's got plenty of ERS. If I was him, I'd actually be running a little bit faster to try and increase the gap a little bit. But yeah, still from qualifying. Let me just see who's got the fastest lap so far. Oh, you can tell I'm not used to this, I'm so sorry. Fastest lap, there we go. Still voted Basher with a 1:36.1. Currently he has 1 extra point up for grabs at the end of the race, barring no one else can beat it. See the position changes as well. Driver of the day for me so far is definitely Prodigy. He's done so well to get that far ahead. and Derange making up 1+1 place on his Division 2 debut. But it's all going to play out once we get there later in the race. We are 20 laps remaining here in Shanghai. With rain on the way, I'm keeping my eye on the clouds as much as the guys will be keeping an eye on their gaps between each other. Oh, Deranged with a 3-second time penalty. I guess I would have forgot how easy it is to actually... I don't think he's cutting corners, that would be for track extending. Although, if on lap 8, and I believe both Renault cars are only just starting to grain, Prodigy is actually graining slightly more than his teammate. So, I'm expecting these guys to be pitting within the next 3 laps. And if it does actually rain toward the end of the race, then with the race being declared wet, they won't need to be on any other softer tyre. If they wish to, if they might do 10 laps on the softs, and then if they could do another 10 laps on the softs, that will be in time for the inters if it needs to. If not, they could just bash on a set of the ultras and then go again. But they need to, if that strategy is going to work, they need to make sure that they've got they just need to make sure it's going to rain, basically. Otherwise it's going to be a very compromised strategy, but they're both doing perfectly fine so far. Bradley making another stop. I wonder if that's like, let's ride on board of Derange with number 4 Force India. He's currently recharging his battery. See how he makes these apexes. I like to see how people's cars handle. Mate, I don't understand why that car is so slow on exit. It's almost like it's struggling to accelerate in a straight line, unless you're running a higher downforce setup. A little bit shaky. I don't think he would have chosen the perfect setup for himself. Oh, that rear end's snapping a little bit. Let's try and see. People's tyre. There we go. With 5 laps on softs, there's no reason why they should be wearing out that early. But still, there's a huge chunk of points available up for Deranged, and even Bradley so far. Oh, it won't be if he keeps having back-end moments like that. It's probably the brown trouser moment of the race, next to the collision with the Ferrari. But still, if the Renaults haven't got the strategy right, and Collins hasn't got his strategy right, then the guys of Broke, Gorilla, Deranged and Bradley could still jump the guys to possibly 4th, 5th and even the last step of the podium. It all comes down to their own race pace. I've got a feeling it's still either going to be one of the Mercedes or one of the Renaults for the win, because they've both gone for strategies that I think are either going to be dry all the way through or wet. I think the Renaults are bagging on it raining a lot earlier than we expect. Still, so I'm on board with the leaders. I'm just trying to keep an eye on the gap between Black Prodigy and Slav King. It's pretty stagnant so far. Wonder if anything actually did happen to Slav King at the start of the race. So I'm on board with Collins, a man who's on the completely different strategy to everyone else on the grid and chasing down championship leader Votive Basher. His 7-lap old mediums. I can tell he's been on a bit of a charge with his ERS that has been as low as it has been. He's still... Is that either cars about to be lapped or the guys in front? So I'm on board with Bradley to see where he is on the circuit. Yeah, Bradley is now being lapped. I just don't think it was his day today. To be fair, it was a tricky corner. If you miss your braking, it's almost like turn 1 at Monza, there will be mayhem. But everyone on the grid, we race, we all prepare for these risks. It's all what we expect. Obviously we don't expect dirty driving, but we need to expect mistakes here and there, and there are corners where mistakes happen more than others. Is that a blue flag again? Is that... sorry. Yep, Colin's trying to get past the Ferrari. The Ferrari actually in AI mode. I hope he comes back to finish racing with us shortly. But I don't think that would have cost Collins that much time in terms of trying to catch the Sauber. Everyone seems to be running slightly lonely races. I mean, the closest battle between Collins and Votive being just under 4 seconds. But still, the race carries on. I'm starting lap 12. I've just seen Black Prodigy go across the line, start his 11th lap on these soft tyres. I think to make the strategy work, he's going to be trying to push them as far as they can go. If he keeps going, he might end up literally running on the rims of the tyres. There's a bit of a long camera wait. I'm wondering if he had a bit of a back end moment. We'll just try to look at the graining again. I'm still baffled as to how those tyres have actually gone so far. I think they are affecting me though. There's a little bit of twitching coming from the rear end of actually both Renaults that I've noticed. Yeah, those fronts are dead. I know traditionally around China it's very heavy graining on the front tyres. Yellow sector 2, who is that? I believe that was the Ferrari. I don't think it was anyone else. Oh, here comes the rain. This is where the strategy is going to start playing out for some people. It will start spitting right now, but in terms of actually crossing over, one, it depends on if the clouds are, if it's been overcast for a very long time, and the fact that it's on average about 5 laps until it will be into conditions anyway. I still think the best person in this position is Collins, as he gets a 5-second stop go for exceeding track limits. I wonder how the hell has he done that. Yeah, I think this will be... I think this is a smile on Collins' face, because I think the Renaults were expecting the rain to come a lot later on. They still cope quite well. There's no reason why everyone should be twitching because of the rain yet. They'll be twitching because of tyre wear. But when are they going to hit lap 13? Probably lap 18 for... oh, he's messed up that hairpin. Lap 18 for the Inters, and I don't know if it's going to get any worse, but we should have 10 laps with wet weather. And I'll tell you what, right now a safety car would really throw things into the mix. Collins actually doing quite well to stay within... no, I'm looking at the wrong graphic. That's Votive within 2 seconds of the Renault. Can he get it round okay enough? I'm just trying to see if he's catching. He's on younger softs. Oh, deranged 5-second stop go speed in the pit lane. If he is pitting for Inters, it is far too early, mate. What you were experiencing was a tyre wear. Yeah, he's gone Inters. He's going to be very frustrated. Unless if anyone else makes the early jump, in which case he could still possibly bump himself up even to 4th place if anything happens to the guys out at front. And I believe as well, with this wet weather coming in, the fastest lap will go to Votive. I don't see how anyone can beat that time unless they quickly put on a set of ultra softs and they bash it around the track, like Basher has done. Get between each other. voted within. Oh, is in within DRS range now of the Renault. The only 2 DRS zones in this game. Although I swear on my life, in the 2018 Chinese Grand Prix, the straight into turn 4 was DRS activated. It was still 2 DRS straights down the main straight and the back straight into the hairpin of turn 15. It's getting very close. I don't understand why these guys are struggling still. I know they're on heavily worn tyres, as Deranged actually sensibly getting out of the way of the pair. Oh no, yeah. Deranged, he pitted a little bit too early, mate. I'm praying no one actually comes round and actually hits him. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's game over yet, mate, because as long as you continue, you can still get a fair amount of points. Although, he is actually a lap down now, and I'm not riding board at the right car at the right time. As Voter Basher and Slav King are battling. This is for the right guy who's chosen the right kind of strategy. So with these two battling, it's allowing Prodigy just to clear off into the distance, and I'm actually shocked that Black Prodigy has gone so far on those soft tyres and nothing has happened to him. He's been a bit twitchy, but he's not made any mistakes so far. I know that corner's a little bit strange, but I just don't understand why it's such a long time into when the cars actually come round. Yeah, you see the rain starting to pick up a bit now. I think the guys will start to feel the track become a little bit slippy, but not greasy. Greasy is when it is time to pit. I think Bradley's actually given up on this race at this point. If he's still in AI mode, then words will be said. But Collins still doing the. I think he's probably got the biggest grin on his face. The only thing is, between him and the Renaults, are within a shot of winning, because clearly Collins will be two-stopping. But it depends if the time gained on the softs for the Renaults will actually work in their favour or not. I mean, at this point I would say no. Just because with how far Slav and Prodigy's tyres have lasted, and the fact that they're having to pit already now for inters, but in my opinion it is still too early for inters. When you start seeing the rooster tails come off the cars, that's when you know it's time to box. Does he go inters or does he... Oh, sorry. Has he got mediums? The rain's going to be coming a lot quicker than that, mate. Yeah, so I don't think the strategy has actually worked out for the Renault driver, nearly exceeding the white exit line. This throws Broke Gorilla into the mix with Voter Basher. Although I do expect... Oh, Deranged is retired. Unfortunate for the Force Indy driver on the Division 2 debut. But these two is probably... I would have not called these guys to be scrapping together this close on track. Because Votive will be on the right tyre in about 3 laps time. But with how... Oh yeah, you see that how heavily worn the softs are on the Torosso. Yeah, it's starting to kick up a little bit of groundwater now, but yeah, this is definitely the start of the crossover point. At this point, if Slav King is able to go this far on his mediums, and pretty beautiful dive bomb there. I don't know. I can't believe that both teammates, who I believe are actually in a chat party, have gone for pretty much different tyre strategies. Collins in off his mediums. These tyres are done for the stint. We're just going to find out. Oh yeah, I believe he does have a 5-second stop go. But at least with him serving that, he shouldn't have any penalties. There's a bit of a glitch there when it was on softs as well. But the bogey green tyres of the Inters on board with the Mercedes. I believe Collins is actually going to be the right person to watch to see if it is actually wet enough for these tyres. By the looks of that, no. Yeah, I see Slav King also in the pits now, boxing for tyres. Black Prodigy could have this in the bag, with how far he is ahead of everyone and everyone else boxing so early. Yeah, I can see he's struggling. He's got a horrendous amount of tyre wear. But as long as he can get to the pits and actually, I believe the only driver is to do a one-stop. This could actually really work out in his favour and be a good haul of points for the Renault team. Still, Collins, see if he can end up catching his championship rival. This would be great if he was able to get a podium. No, it's still not wet enough. I know it's raining, but it's still not wet enough. Let's look at stops. Yeah, everyone's two-stopped. I still think China would have been a two-stop anyway, with it being a dry race. But Black Prodigy actually into the pits now, with a very comfortable lead over Vota Basher in second place. I think he's got to be the smartest strategy call I've seen all night. And he is going to be in his element so far. Because these guys running on a dry track, they'll be experiencing very heavy tyre heating issues in terms of them actually overheating and actually disintegrating, so everyone's tyre life might actually be a bit screwed for the moment. Yeah, and I can tell Bradley now is actually in AI mode. There's no reason why he should be 2 minutes behind on 8 lap old softs at this point, but the driver does come into the pits to make his intermediate pit stop. Let's ride on board with Collins with the fight for second place. To be honest, mate, I know you've had a battle with him before in Bahrain, but if you aren't comfortable with chasing him, there's no shame in getting third. I'm pretty sure both of us would want points on the board for you. Collins being in the Division 1 of New Horizons, my actual teammate, and us in Division 1 are chasing down the Constructors title with only 3 rounds left to go. Unless if our nearest constructor rivals don't turn up, then I believe me and Collins would be Constructors champions for Division 1 after myself won the Drivers title in Division 1 last week in the USA. Still think Black Prodigy is definitely driver of the day in my opinion. He's done so well. It's almost like, how did he know? But yeah, I don't understand why his teammate hasn't been able to keep up with him or follow through with the same strategy, because they're on compromised intermediates now. The Inter's actually being obviously a very hard compounded tyre. Everyone should not really be having any kind of issues with tyre wear or overheating at this point in the race. With 10 laps left to go here in Shanghai for New Horizons Race League Division 2. Our leader is Black Prodigy in the Renault, ahead of Vota Basher with the fastest lap as well in the bag. And the Sauber is second place. Our pole sitter Collins in third place after a strategy that probably has not worked at the right time in his favour. Slav King Robo, Black Prodigy's teammate, starting, I actually think he started where it started on the grid. P4 for Renault. And then we have the Torosso of Broke Gorilla in 5th place, and Bradley, who I believe is in AI mode, in 6th place, with Derange, I believe, crashing out in the Force India. But everyone here still getting points today, as we have less than 10 runners. We still are on the recruitment for more drivers for Division 1 and Division 2. If you wish to see the survival of the league into the near future, please do contact us on Twitter and our Facebook page. Our Twitter being NHRL Official and Facebook being New Horizons Racing League, although our Facebook page is primarily for stewards' inquiries. It's actually right on board with the Mercedes still. Right, I'm just going to have a look at both their ERS. It's still very evenly matched between the pair of them. I think it will only just be starting to work out for them right now in terms of their tyre grip. Because the rain's been coming down enough now that it should actually be intermediates anyway, which is why Black Prodigy is going to be so comfortable out in the lead. Although, I'm just trying to actually keep an eye. Yeah, Votive is actually catching the Renault. It might be a little bit too late. I can see the back end on that Mercedes sliding round. I can see a small rooster tail coming out behind the rear diffuser. So these guys may end up being the top 3, but not necessarily in this order. I'm going to try right on board with Votive. So you can't even see the Renault in the distance. What's even happening to the Renault? He's not doing too bad. DRS disabled. I believe that's the point when people really should have ended up pitting. So at this point, yeah, I can definitely say it's Inters until the end of the race. If Collins would have stayed out for longer on those mediums, he could have ended up leading the race at this point. Because when it says DRS disabled, that is the point to pit. That's the point where you need a new fresh set of boots for the wet weather. And with Black Prodigy being so far ahead already, a strategy that I actually didn't think was going to work, but it's just been a bad strategy call from everyone else on the grid. It's been the perfect strategy for Black Prodigy in my opinion, but I would not have started on those tyres. I think if I'd known the rain was coming, I probably would have actually started on the mediums and then potentially only go for the 1 stop, but you would have been really pushing it to the window of a 2 stop. I think, has he turned up his engine? I don't think so. The gap just increased again between the top 2, so I was just a little bit worried if one of them was actually having an issue. But Votive's still doing quite well. I believe he was one of 2 drivers that actually finished the race last week when we had 2 finishers in the at Baku. Oh, that middle sector's dire. Yeah, and I also assume that everyone else has actually gone for what you call it, dry setups. Well, those 2 going for a new set of Inters. I don't blame him. It is the right time for Inters now, which is why any kind of tyre wear everyone will be experiencing will be now. I don't think there's anything to be gained from the guys in 5th and 6th. I think the best thing Slavkin can do at the moment is to actually finish on track and not make any stupid mistakes, or just wait for people ahead of him to. Oh no, the Mercedes is off! Please don't let that be a DNF. Oh, I can't believe I caught that just in time. Collins, you've got the fight of your life for this podium. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I'll be having words with that Ferrari. I can tell he's an AI. There's no reason why he should be running on medium tyres in an intermediate condition race. Thing is, yeah, that's definitely enough wind damage for Collins that I would actually end up pitting. What are you doing, man? I know it's near the end of the race, but you got 5 seconds to Slavkin behind you. Yeah, and it doesn't help how Slav King's actually on a charge now, running in his high ERS mode. For a second, is he gaining or? Well, I'm assuming he's going to be gaining, but it's how quickly, which is what I'm looking for. Sorry, I'm getting other messages from other chats at the moment. I'm trying to keep an eye on the gaps between everyone. If Collins gets this podium, it will be by the skin of his teeth. I think me and him were expecting a lot more, but if he can get a podium still, I think he would be happy. He is trying. I'm surprised he's not actually gone any harsher than what he has done already on his tyres, but still Slav King behind only by 2.8 seconds. But both of them struggling on the dry setups in an intermediate race. I wonder how many of them have actually learned to turn their diff down. Penalty for Bradley for speeding in the pit lane. I can't even remember off the top of my head how many penalties Slav King has got, if he does have any penalties. But Collins getting a 5-second stop go early on in the race. He has actually served that, so from what I'm aware of, he does not have any penalties. Strange things are happening in that ghost car of the Ferrari. I think that AI car is just going to be coming into the pits every time. I mean, even if you can't race, could you at least retire your car on track? Off track, sorry. And getting past the Mercedes. Will he have any fight back? Oh, Collins has actually got past him in the exit. Yeah, both of them are really going to be struggling for traction. A huge bit of wheel spin off the Renault. Oh no, please don't get too close. Oh, the ending tears. It does not. They're coming up to lap the Ferrari. The Ferrari AI car getting out of the way of both of them. Alright, that has actually really compromised the Mercedes for the podium. I know it's nearly the end, mate, but I'd actually suggest just pitting and grabbing 4th place in the bag. You don't want to be having two of the most ruthless drivers in this league going at each other for the last place in the podium. Could you imagine going for the win? Or even for the title? I know they're all going for the title anyway. See, is that, yeah, that Ferrari was just making silly mistakes now. So I'm bored with Broke Gorilla. It's had a pretty lonely race since his mistakes early on, but I'm happy that it's still going. I mean, even if there's another mistake from Collins, a pretty serious one, then Broke Gorilla could still end up getting 4th place here. But seeing how those cars are handling, it's such a shame. If one, if he wouldn't have made that mistake, and two, if he actually had a full front wing, he would actually be fine. The rain coming down even harder now. I can start to see the spray being kicked up by the rear tyres, and just slightly. Oh, he goes deep. Yeah, another thing when it's wet is you need to have your brake pressure turned down. Sorry, I'm just getting distracted by the Ferrari that's about 2 laps down. Let's have a look through gaps from the leader. Unless if anything happens to Black Prodigy, I don't see how Votobasher can end up winning this race. Pretty interesting, we've had 3 races and 3 different winners so far. It's actually quite impressive. No, you did that evil exit curve. Yeah, I think Collins knows it now. Even if you're on a pit mate, there's nothing to be lost or gained at this point, but it's up to you if you actually want to finish the race comfortably. Robert was still making the similar kind of mistakes, but I think that's just because he's on, well, they're both on the most worn tyres. Oh, Votive Vasher's in the pits. Is he gone for another set of inters? I should not have changed that graphic. This puts Slav King really in with the fight. Unfortunately, it still doesn't help the situation of Collins, but second place is up for grabs right now. Only if Slav King could actually keep the power down in the wet, but I'm assuming most of these guys don't know how to set up the cars with the differential in the wet. If you turn your differential down, you'll reduce your wheel spin and therefore increase your traction. Let's ride on board with Votavo to see how his fresh inters are getting on. See, the rain's gotten slightly heavy since last time, but I still don't see why it would get any worse than how it is already. Has he made the most pit stops in this race so far? I know he's set the fastest lap early on, but I believe he's actually got the fastest lap in every race so far. So look at stops. Yeah, that Ferrari is actually starting to wind me up with the amount of stops it's making. At 3 stops for Broke Gorilla and Votibasha, 2 stops for Slav King and Collins. Who's that? I just had a yellow flag and I've got a message come up at the same time and I can't see who's making these errors. Still, I think driver of the day for me goes to Black Prodigy, only making the one stop work in this strategy. And for actually gaining the amount of places he has, that's a golden strategy call from him there, from the Australian. Let's ride on board. Yeah, let's actually ride on board with him. See how he's getting on. Charging his way down the straight, coming into the penultimate corner, eventually to start the penultimate lap. The championship standings before this race stands as Votive Basher on 47, Robot Boy now into the game tag of Slav King on 43 points. Tommy Ketchup has also changed his gamer tag and not here today unfortunately on 25 points. Bradley on 24 in his Ferrari, which still will be picking up more points today. Collins, if he can keep it out of the barriers, should end up overtaking him, with him being on 18 points. Black Prodigy on 15 points so far. Owen, who is not here today, on 10 points, and Gusarex, whose position is up for review at this moment, is also on 10 points. And Tadpoles, who is away for the time being, is on 6 points in the other Mercedes. Was that the Ferrari in the background? I'm just going to ride on board with Slav King now, just because it's the closest battle on track. There's a huge gap between him and Collins now. It's probably heartbreaking for Collins actually. As I said, like these small mistakes, you touch curbs, clip grass, big problems. If anything, I'm actually very happy he's still in the race. His first chance in Division 2 to actually score some legitimate high amount of points. See, I know this data is kind of outdated now, but early on. Still Votibasher setting the fastest lap by over a second compared to his nearest rival. It's massively impressive. Riding forward with Collins. I'm surprised he hasn't actually made any more mistakes with that broken front wing. Not so much his tyres, but just that must be like a boat with a ton of bricks in it to handle around the circuit. If only this race would happen similar in real life. Oh mate, you got to straighten that up. Oh, that was probably my brown trouser moment of the race. Broke Gorilla. He's just trying to coast around, and actually 10 points for him today I think is actually very respectable. It should help him in the long run for the championship. For everyone, I believe, coming up to start the final lap. Black Prodigy completely dominated this race. I actually wouldn't have actually called him to win the race today. He's done very, very well, and I mean literally he's done very well. I hope he's not weaving because he thinks he's won it. He's still got about another 5 corners to make yet. He takes turn 13 pretty decently. See, that's what you need. You don't need any kind of rear end loss or any type. He's coming up into the final corner. Sorry, not final corner, the penultimate corner. I just want to see how many. No, please don't say someone's crashed. Oh, it was a spin for Collins. But today, a day for Black Prodigy, who actually wins his first race for New Horizons Racing League. I'm still annoyed that I've not been able to find the tyre lap. On 11 lap old Inters ahead of everyone else, they had perfect strategy. I don't think he could have asked for any more of himself, to be honest. He's just been perfect today. It's just riding board votive to hopefully come home and finish second. Yeah, he's weaving, he knows he's done it. He knows he's got second. And Slav King Robo coming home in third place ahead of his championship rival of Collins. Warden to the top 3. Your heart's got to go out to him. He tried so hard, and you've seen it in qualifying. This lad, he has the pace. It's just such a shame he has not been able to pull it off. Oh no no no! That's probably the biggest mistake he could have made. I might even put that up to the stewards, because you've just thrown away 4th place. But because the race is over, he'll still maintain 5th place as Broke Gorilla comes over to take 4th place ahead of the crashing Mercedes. So I like it. This sport, this game is relentless, and you never know what's going to happen, even on the last lap. But still, that's our Chinese Grand Prix over with today. Who won it with Black Prodigy in the Renault ahead of Voted Basher in the Sauber, Slav King Robo in 3rd place with Renault, and Broke Gorilla is scoring here. I think it's equaling best performance in New Horizons with the Toro Rosso. Collins making a huge mistake in the last couple of corners, finishing 5th for Mercedes. Bradley being in AI mode, I believe, for most of that race, still picks up points for Ferrari, and Derange not being able to finish, but it still gets 6 points for Force India. I'll see you guys back in the podium interviews. We're here for the podium interviews of New Horizons Racing League Division 2. We've just done our round 3 around China. I have the top 3 here. Voted Basher, Black Prodigy, and his teammate of Slav King Robo. I'm going to start off with Slav King. How's that race for you, mate?
It was stupidity from me for half of that race, because at the point when it started raining, I don't know what happened. I picked intermediates, then it went on to mediums, and Then I had to do a lap on mediums, then go on to intermediates. As soon as I went on to intermediates, I was like, my race is over. Might as well just wave out the white flag, you know, just surrender off. And then I got third. So,
I was wondering about that. So was that medium stint call not actually? That wasn't in the game plan, was it?
that was not my plan at all. I picked intermediates.
Did you think you would be battling with Collins as much as you were today?
Yeah, I think I'd be battling with both of Collins.
Do you think coming in for the foreseeable future of the season, do you think you can still win this title?
I mean, it's too early to think about title, but constructors, I think we've got in the bag. Banana Boys for the win.
Fair enough.
Banana Boys.
We'll get onto that in a minute. Right, moving on to second place driver for Sauber, Votive. How was that race for you, mate?
I mean, it was a very interesting race. I had the pit strategy of two-stop going from the ultras to soft, and when I pitted for my softs, my engineer told me that it was going to rain, so I tried to hold out on the softs until it started raining. So it was probably my softs were getting quite warm. They were probably at like 40%, and it started raining, and I was like, okay. So then I held out for 2 laps more, and then I pitted for inters, and I came out, and I was just sliding all over the place, and then I think it was either Collins or Robo that overtook me, and then I was like, oh, if this is my race over, then this is going to be a very horrible way to do it. And then I see Robo pit for the mediums, and then I got really worried that I came onto the wrong tyres. Then I saw you pit again, and then it inters, so
yeah,
it was a very good race.
I just need to head back to Slav King for that. You know, when you did pit for the mediums, was it any kind of performance still, or even when you went out on the mediums, was it still slidey? Was it definitely the crossover point?
No, I didn't even notice it was changed. I felt I was a bit faster with the mediums on.
Yeah, so probably dry tyres were the right call at the time then. But still, moving on to our race winner. Debut winner for New Horizons, the Australian. Well done, Black Prodigy.
Oh, thanks. It's about time, that's for sure. I was getting a bit scared at the start, because when I saw in qualifying the wet weather coming later in the race, I wasn't expecting it to come so early at all. And the engineer was giving me the 10-15 minute range towards the middle of my stint, so I tried to hold as long as I could. Towards the end, I think I got to like 85% wear on my soft tyres, but I knew if I came in, my race was over, so I had to stay out and just push on until the rain, the intermediate point, and it paid off, that's for sure. Had a lot of breathing space at the end.
You were personally my driver of the day today. That was fantastic, coming from where you were on the grid, and I was shocked, actually shocked, of how far you were able to take those tyres, and I'm happy for you that it worked out.
Yeah, it's really good. With the qualifying as well, we planned to start on the softs just to go from them onto the mediums. Luckily we did that, because we were thinking of switching to the ultras. We were really contemplating it, but luckily we stayed on what we did. I'm not going to act like I planned it. It was luck. It was luck that we stayed on them. But it paid off.
Fair enough. So, congratulations to the top 3. It's been New Horizons Racing League Division 2. Division 1 will be back tomorrow, heading to round 19 for Mexico. Division 2 will be back next week for round 4 in Spain. And just a little heads up information for all the drivers. We do have more drivers planned to be joining the league imminently. Pole position points went to Collins, and the fastest lap award went to a Votive Basher. This race had everything: pace, strategy calls, rain, crashes, and stewards' inquiries that are still underway as we speak. I've been Connor, and yeah, we'll see you guys next week in Spain.